Welcome to the 60 Plus Podcast.
I'm Janet.
I'm Joe. How are you, Janet?
Oh, I'm a little sad.
Are you a little sad? Okay.
Yeah.
Why are you sad, Janet?
Well, because, Ginger passed.
Okay, do you want to explain who Ginger was?
My dog.
Your 18-year-old.
She was 18.
Mm-hmm.
I know that's really old, but she was a little angel.
She was a very sweet little dog.
Yep. And
she was very funny too.
Yes, she was.
Yeah, I think she had a little dementia going.
You mean because she used to walk up to a wall
She
and
just
stare at it?
walk up to a wall, like her nose 1 inch from the wall,
trap underneath the chair,
and just stand there.
Yeah. Well, 18.
Well,
Over 100 probably.
I was told there'd be no math involved.
Not that again. But anyway,
so I'm sorry about Ginger.
Yeah, she was a little sweetie. And yeah, Chewy sent me a rock with her name on it.
Okay, so Chewie is not the guy from Star Wars, the furry animal.
Chewbacca?
Yeah, it's not that. Chewy, the pet food delivery company.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
the internet pet food pet supply company.
Yeah. It was really sweet.
And they sent you a rock. And
Yeah.
you showed it to me. It's got it says Ginger on it, and then it has angel wings.
Yeah,
around,
the little heart.
which
Yeah.
I'm impressed because, as far as I know, you're not a customer anymore.
Well, no.
Right?
No.
And I mean, so you wouldn't have thought anything bad if they didn't send you a rock with Ginger's name on it.
No, but they were
It was
amazing.
hand painted. I mean,
Yeah.
they have someone, at least one person at Chewy, that paints rocks.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
When someone's
Yeah.
passes.
Yeah. It was pretty. Anyway, it got me all verklempt again. But anyway, so this kind of inspired this episode. So I guess we're having this episode in memory of Ginger.
All right.
So
in memory of Ginger, we're doing a 60 Plus Podcast episode on healing.
Yeah. Healing.
Emotional healing.
Yeah, emotional
after a
healing.
loss of some sort.
Yeah. And, why is this important for our age group? Because, I think there is a lot of loss sometimes in our age group.
It's only going to get worse too. I'm sorry to say.
Yeah.
You go through that stage of life where there's lots of marriages and then lots of births,
babies,
and then lots of
divorce,
divorces.
So there's loss from emotional healing over that too.
There is too. I think I might be talking a little bit about that.
Yeah.
But as we enter this
new phase,
somewhat old phase, there will be some more loss.
Yeah. So, I mean, is this going to be a naturally humorous episode? No, but hopefully it will be helpful to people who are dealing with some form of loss.
Okay.
So that's what we're going to do today.
Do you want to start?
I'll start. Sure. So I'm trying to learn this whole art of AI. Artificial intelligence. Yeah, I think it is a little bit. So I actually went on, what's Copilot, which is Microsoft's version of that.
AI,
and asked them about emotional healing at this age, whether that's from death or divorce or whatnot. They had some insights and strategies to help navigate the healing process, which is very personal, right? And it's all going to be on, everybody has a separate timeline, certainly can't be forced, right? The first piece of advice is to acknowledge your feelings and to allow yourself to feel the emotions associated with the loss. So in other words, validate those feelings and don't try to squash that, whether you're sad, angry, confused. Give yourself permission to experience them fully.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Because I think, I have come across people who have tried to tamp it down, try to ignore it, or try to exercise your way out of it, or whatever it is that you're doing. And I think that ends up staying in your body type of thing and staying in it's in there.
I forget so many stages of grief.
5.
5 stages?
Yeah.
All right. if you don't acknowledge the feelings, you can't go through those 5 stages.
Right.
How can you acknowledge the feelings?
Well, again, it's a matter of, whether you allow yourself that emotional response or are you trying to run from it?
And I think it helps to talk to other people about it,
Yeah.
to vocalize it.
Yes,
And
definitely.
it can be a professional, it can be friends or family or
Right. Yeah. And that's the second thing. It says seek support, connect with friends, family, or a therapist.
Mhm.
Talking about your emotions can be cathartic. You don't necessarily need professional help. And if you do, you do, right? But certainly an ear, somebody who might be sympathetic or empathetic to what you're going through.
There are so many more ways to get professional counseling now than there used to
Mm,
be. It used to be you'd go in and the classic example, you'd lay on the couch, right?
right.
Now you can do it online. You can do it by phone.
Yep.
You can do the classic way where you go in and you sit and you talk with somebody in person.
Right.
But there are so many other ways to do it.
Even like YouTube, I know it sounds crazy, but like there's so much good advice on YouTube for certain challenges that you're going through. That doesn't require a two-way conversation, but at least it might be perspective.
I've learned how to fix a lot of home appliances
Okay.
from YouTube videos.
Are you uncomfortable talking about emotions, Joe? Don't
Why
you?
would you say that?
Because you want to talk about appliances now. You
Well,
got,
you were talking about how
you just
helpful.
got a new refrigerator, didn't you?
Did we talk last week about my refrigerator? We
Yes.
did. The smells that were wafting out of my
Yes.
refrigerator. Well, I got a new refrigerator this week, and
Yay.
it's just wonderful.
Okay. So you're feeling up.
I'm not grieving about my old
No,
refrigerator.
okay, good.
I was last week when I was eating peanut butter on rice cakes for
Yeah,
3 days
I
in a
bet
row.
you were grieving.
Hmm.
So another tip here is self-care.
Yes.
Prioritize self-care,
Yep.
which, a lot of people are not good at. It really takes a concerted effort sometimes.
Yes, you have to be conscious about it
Right.
and not just forget.
Yeah. And it's both physical and emotional well-being,
Sure.
right? So rest, eat healthy, engage in activities. I like this idea of do things that bring you joy. If you can try to counteract
I
the
had
pain.
to inform someone that was very close to me about the death of a relative one time.
Mm-hmm.
Something that somebody advised that I do, and I thought it was great advice. It was actually my mom. My mom gave me this advice. She said, before you tell her, have lunch, because you won't want to have lunch afterwards.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I thought it was
yeah.
fantastic advice because, you know, probably not going to want to eat later in the day either.
Right.
So
Right.
I just thought it
Yeah.
was
When you're
fantastic.
upset, it's
Yep.
hard to eat.
So,
Think
but
about
it's
eating.
important. It's important because your body can't function correctly. Your brain can't
Right. And it
function
just
correctly
makes it
unless it's nourished.
and it makes it harder to cope with whatever it is that you're coping with,
Hmm.
right?
Okay.
What do you got?
Stay connected. Don't isolate yourself. As a matter of fact, it's probably even better to be more connected. Reach out more to friends. Don't spend time alone. And if you find yourself in a situation where that's difficult, find a
Mm,
support group.
yeah.
And there are even support groups online. We have listeners all over the place, right?
Yeah.
We live in a well-populated area, but some people don't. And there are online support groups.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's better to be in person too.
Yeah. I definitely agree with that. I mean, I remember when I was going through a tough time and my yoga instructor like reached out to me. She's like, "We haven't seen you. Is everything okay?" And I'm like, "No, not everything is not okay." And she's like, "Look, this is a safe place. If you can't come here and work it out, you're totally please, come." And it was really good advice, and it really did help me navigate through some of that pain. And it
Sure.
was yoga, it was meditation. It was very, very helpful in that process.
The actual yoga or the experience of being with other people or both?
Both,
Yeah.
the community and the meditate. That's when I learned how to meditate. And I think that that's incredibly powerful when you can get down to the core
Hmm.
of, what's happening and trying to understand that, acknowledging your feelings and trying to understand them and then navigate through them, right?
Sure. Now, being with other people kind of seems counterintuitive to what we just said about acknowledge your emotions and verbalize and all that. But when you're with other people, you have other things to think about and other things to talk about. And if they're good friends or family,
Mm,
they'll be there for you to help you through it.
right.
But a lot of times it's just hey, go share a meal with someone, go for a walk, do something with someone else
Yeah.
because it's better to be with someone than just
Yeah.
sitting and ruminating.
Yeah. And a lot of times this is traumatic, you know? And
Sure.
I can remember it seemed like the only time I didn't think about what was happening was when I was working because I had to focus on something else, you know, and it was a slight reprieve, you know, from dealing with the trauma.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, it's again, I think that's part of, learning what's going to help you and, taking time to do that.
One of the things that I came across is establish a daily routine to provide structure.
Hmm.
I don't want to minimize someone that's lost someone that's very close, but with Ginger, you had a daily routine.
Yes.
You got up in the morning, you took Ginger out.
Right.
If you were out, you know 4 or 5 hours, you'd say, "Oh, I got to go home and take care of Ginger."
Yeah.
That routine is gone now.
It was actually kind of tethering, right? I had to be back at a certain time. Like even today, I was saying, like, oh, I need to get back. I'm like, no, wait a minute, you don't.
Hmm.
Especially towards the end where she needed a lot of care. And so you need to create new routines.
Yes.
And your daily routines, as you said, are going to change. So, what are those new patterns that will help your healing, right? I still want to go outside, and so I go for a walk or get on my bike,
Well, she
you
was
know.
18. You didn't go for a very long walk
No,
with her.
no, but she did make me get outside first thing in the morning.
She did.
Yeah, and sometimes I
There were
would watch.
consequences if you didn't.
Right. Yeah. Sometimes I'd watch a sunrise, which now I can do from the safety of my bed.
Okay.
So yeah, new routines, definitely. And if you can make these enjoyable, and that will be helpful too.
All right. What else?
Well, this one I think is really important, and that's patience and compassion. Be patient with yourself. Healing isn't linear. Some days will be better than others. You want to be compassionate and kind to yourself, and everything's okay, when you're going through a healing process. And being able to listen to what do I really need and honor that.
That's a good idea.
Hmm.
This one is a little tricky for me. Prioritize sleep.
Mm,
There's something about me, I tend to sleep too much when I'm feeling down.
yeah.
Like crash. Getting out of bed is a chore.
Yeah.
More,
Well,
more so than usual, which
right.
I'm not necessarily the best morning person.
Yeah.
So prioritize sleep, but in a healthy way.
Yeah. I mean, I think that when you're going through a tough time, right, your body kind of needs that sleep, right?
Hmm.
Because your body's trying to heal physically. That can take a real toll. They're connected,
Hmm.
right?
Agreed.
So if you're struggling with sleep, it's going to make it harder for you to cope with that emotional aspect. What are some of the tools that you can kind of develop and new habits that you can develop to get that sleep? I used
Okay.
to listen to the late night comedians. I
Really?
don't know why they would put me to sleep.
Hmm.
Yeah, voices at night or something. I don't know what it is.
I very often fall asleep with the TV on in front of me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I know a lot of people say that that's not a good way to do it, but works for me.
Yeah.
I actually just got new eyeglasses.
Yes, they're very, very sporty.
Thank you. But they have the blue light blockers.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't really notice it until today. I was looking at a website
Mm-hmm.
and it's like, oh, the background on that website looks weird. And I took the glasses off and it was bright. I could see the blue light.
Yeah.
Put the glasses on and the blue was gone.
Yeah. So that supposedly helps,
It
right?
does. It's
Yeah.
supposed to.
Yeah.
Here's an important one.
Mm-hmm.
Avoid substance misuse.
Oh, yeah. Right. Right.
So don't overdo it. A glass of wine is okay
Yeah. You can't use that as a crutch, right?
because that can lead to some very bad habits.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
So don't do that. And some people think that it will numb the emotional pain that you may be feeling. Not really.
No.
Not really. It might feel good for a bit, but I think overall it's too much.
We know that like alcohol is a depressant.
Hmm.
And so if you're already feeling depressed
Hmm.
because of whatever you're going through. That's definitely not going to help you. I have one here. Accept the loss.
There's not much you can do about it.
Understanding that it was a loss and you're going to grieve and allow yourself to do that.
Hmm.
If it was a marriage, you had a dream that you're going to be together forever, whatever, and you lost that.
Hmm.
It's like recognize it, and that's the first step from moving on from it, I suppose.
It's interesting you say that because I also looked at how to heal from a breakup
Mm-hmm.
for someone that's 60 plus. And all of these things that we're talking about apply to that as well. It's not just a death or
Right.
all of the same things apply.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting.
Another one, avoid rushing decisions because this can lead to significant life changes. So don't make any impulsive decisions while you're going through this period of healing.
Oh, that's interesting. I wouldn't have thought of that. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Because you're not thinking, I don't want to say you're not thinking clearly, but
No, right. You're
other
not.
things are affecting your thinking that might not otherwise.
Yeah, and you want to consider your options and you don't want to have a knee-jerk reaction to
Hmm.
what you're going to do and what your life is going to be like because it's not going to be the same, right?
Hmm. Here's one, and it's a little bit more positive, is remember the good times.
Wow, I think that you're probably pretty far down the road when you're doing that.
I don't know.
If it's divorce and you're angry,
Well, okay.
that's hard to be like, "Oh yeah, we had such a good time when we went to Europe."
It can be helpful. So if it's the loss of, a person,
Mm,
remember the good times. Sometimes it's hard because a lot of times right before a loss is a difficult time.
right.
So remember there were good times too. Otherwise, why would you be grieving?
Yeah.
If there weren't good times,
Yeah.
it
And I
wouldn't
think
matter.
that that's a pathway to joy too. It's that gratitude. Be grateful for the good times that you did have. Recognize that there was some joy and delight along the way, and that you don't ever want to discount that.
I agree. What about engage in a new activity or engage in a challenging activity?
Yeah, a new hobby
Hmm.
or yeah, I had that one too. Experiencing new things. Like, so this change has been brought upon you. Can you sort of rally around taking control of that change a little bit
Sure.
and saying, what do I want my life to look like? What new things might I want to try? New hobbies, new exercise routines, or spending time with, new people or your old friends, whatever it is. Do
Hmm.
the things that fill you with joy and laughter.
Life goes on.
Yeah, but I don't want to like give that message like buck up, kid.
Oh, no,
It's
no, no, no. That's not what I meant.
yeah, again, you don't know how long it's going to take, but there are things that you can do to try to help it, promote it. And again, start with being kind to yourself, right?
Hmm.
Like if we stick with, oh, could I have done something differently or, whatever, that's not going to
That's
get
not
you
helpful.
far. No,
That's not helpful.
no. There's a saying, and this I think really speaks to more the loss from a divorce or something is you're not responsible for other people's behavior, but you are responsible for your own and your own response. And so taking charge of that,
Sure.
you're not going to change what's happened, but you can certainly take charge of your response.
Yes. And that kind of follows from what you just said about, oh, could I have done something differently?
Mm,
Doesn't help. You,
no.
it's not going to change anything going forward.
Nope.
So, so don't do that.
Don't do that. That's it. We're so simple, right? Just don't do it.
It's like the little cartoons. Don't be like, so and so.
Yeah.
I think this is a great way to help get through a tough time. Helping others.
Yeah.
Go do something nice for someone else. Volunteer.
Yes.
Find a way to help others.
Yeah.
And it really does help you feel better about yourself too. And that's not why you do it.
Yeah, especially if you've gone through something similar and you now are, have say a friend or something who's going through it. It's like helping them helps you too,
Oh, sure.
right? Because again, in a way you're looking back at what you've been through and maybe there's some things that helped you that would help the other person as well, or at least having a sympathetic ear,
Hmm.
and kind of understanding without having to even say anything. It's just knowing what they're going through was really helpful, and also almost makes what you went through, okay, now I can help this person. That gives me a reason of, another reason why I went through this, right?
Sure.
Because we never know really as we're going through it why it's happening.
There's no why. There's no
There's no
why.
why, but at the end of the day, sometimes you go, okay, I'm going to be okay. And now maybe I can try and help this person be okay too.
Sure. I think it's important to remember that loss is part of life.
Mm-hmm. The crappy part of life, but
Yeah, but I mean, it is part of life, and there's no avoiding it. It's going to happen. Everyone's going to experience loss of some sort.
right.
So I think sometimes it helps to think, well, other people get through it. I can too.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's that self-talk, right?
Hmm.
I'm going to be okay. I'm going to be okay.
Hmm.
Take the next step, be where your feet are, and know that at the end of the day, there are people who love you and people who care. And whatever you're going through, you're not alone. You don't have to be alone.
Nope. Nope. So once again, sorry about Ginger.
Thank you.
She was a sweet dog,
She really was a
and
little
you were a
angel.
good dog mom to her. You
Aw,
really were.
thanks. Yeah, she was special.
All right. So I think that's going to do it. There is some good information at the National Institute on Aging about
Mm-hmm.
coping with grief. So
Okay.
that's a good place to go.
Yep.
Google the National Institute on Aging.
Yep.
There are other sites as well, but don't be alone. Do something good. Help yourself.
And there's probably like resources at the local senior centers and stuff like that too.
Sure. Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, support groups.
All right. Well, hopefully next week we have something more fun to talk about.
We will, but I'm glad we did this and thank you.
You're welcome. That's it for this episode of the 60 Plus podcast. I'm Joe.
I'm Janet. Bye.